Romance of Sui and Tang Dynasties Chapter 91.
Imagine for a second that you are a sentry.
Okay.
You're standing on the high walls of a city, and it is the dead of night.
Right.
It's cold, it's quiet, and you're just staring out into the pitch blackness of the horizon. But you aren't looking for an enemy army. You're looking for a light, a specific single point of light.
You're waiting for the signal.
Exactly. For years, every single night at dusk, a chain of torches has burned. It's a relay system. It stretches hundreds of miles, hopping from one watchtower to the next, crossing mountains and rivers. And it's all just to tell the capital city one simple thing.
That we are safe. Everything is okay.
Yeah. But then, on this specific night we're looking at today, nothing happens.
The sun goes down and it just stays dark.
Right. The sky turns black, the horizon stays dark, no fire. And the next night, darkness again. By the third night, that silence is screaming.
It's a terrifying image to start with, and the precise moment the lights went out on the golden age of the Tang Dynasty.
Chapter 91. And what struck me reading this wasn't really the military strategy, although that is definitely in there. It was the psychology. How Emperor Xuanzong, this truly legendary figure, and his inner circle reacted when the world actually started falling apart.
It is a fascinating and frankly disturbing look at leadership. History books usually just give you the dates, the battles, the treaties.
Yeah, the dry stuff.
Exactly. But the source, it zooms right in on the panic. It shows us what happens when a leader listens to the wrong people, and worse, what happens when the people in charge stop caring about the nation and start caring exclusively about their own survival.
It really reads less like a history textbook and more like, I don't know, like a corporate thriller, like where the board of directors is looting the company right before the bankruptcy is announced.
That is a scarily accurate analogy.
So let's set the scene with this fire system. They call it the Ping'an fire.
The safety fire.
Right, the safety fire. Because when I read about it, I was really surprised by how sophisticated it was. I mean, this wasn't just some guy waving a torch on a hill.
Oh, no, it was serious infrastructure. It was an ancient high-speed communication network. The source actually describes it in detail. Every 30 length, which is roughly 10 miles, there was a smoke tower or a beacon station.
Wow.
It was a rhythmic daily pulse. If the borders were secure, the smoke went up by day and the fire was lit by night. That signal would travel tower by tower all the way back to the capital, Chang'an. It was literally the heartbeat of the empire.
And Emperor Xuanzong relied entirely on that heartbeat. As long as he saw that fire from his palace balcony, he could just go back to his music, his poetry, his time with his favorite consort, Lady Yang.
It was the ancient equivalent of a server status light glowing green.
Exactly. But when that heartbeat stopped for 3 nights in a row, the denial finally broke.
He knew. You can ignore rumors in the court, but you cannot ignore the darkness. And that is when the courier horses finally arrived.
And they aren't bringing good news.
Far from it. The news is catastrophic. Tongguan has fallen.
So for you listening, if you aren't looking at a map of 8th century China right now, Tongguan wasn't just a basic checkpoint.
No, it was the lock on the front door of the capital.
Right. It was this natural fortress, a mountain pass that was supposed to be completely impregnable. Basically, if you lose Tongguan, there is nothing left between the rebel army and the emperor. The door is wide open.
Precisely. And the report says that General Jie Shuhan, the man guarding it, has had his entire army wiped out. We are talking about the total destruction of the main defense force.
But here is the nugget in the source material that just made me so angry on behalf of this general. Tongguan didn't fall because the walls were weak.
No.
It didn't fall because the soldiers were cowards. It fell entirely because of office politics back in the capital.
It is a profound tragedy of jealousy. You have to understand the dynamic here. The prime minister, Yang Guozhong, he's the cousin of the famous consort Yang Guifei.
So he's got extreme family privilege.
Exactly. He is arguably the most powerful man in the empire, besides the emperor himself, and he is deeply, deeply paranoid.
He thought General Jie Shuhan was plotting against him, right?
Yes. The general knew his best military strategy was just to sit tight. He was behind massive fortified walls. The rebel army, led by Enlu Shan, was far from home.
And running out of supplies.
Right. The smart play was to defend and wait them out. But Yang Guozhong was terrified that if the general sat there too long, he might turn his army around, march on the capital, and remove the corrupt prime minister.
So to save his own political skin, the prime minister literally forces the general to attack.
Yes. He pressures the emperor to issue a direct order, attack immediately. He forces the army out from behind their safe walls and straight into an obvious trap. And just like that, 200,000 men are lost.
That is just infuriating. But what happens next gives us the first real look at Yang Guozhong's character during a crisis. The news arrives, the news that he caused, and what does he do? Does he apologize? Does he offer to resign?
Absolutely not. He spins the narrative immediately.
Of course he does.
He stands up in front of the court and says, "See, I told you. Qin Shi Huang waited too long. His hesitation allowed the enemy to come up with a better plan."
That is classic gaslighting. He breaks the lock on the door and then blames the doorman for being too slow.
That's exactly what it is. And he gets away with it because the emperor is in a state of absolute shock. The capital is defenseless. The rebel leader and Lucian is marching toward them. So the emperor calls an emergency council meeting. And this brings us to what we can call great debate.
I really love this scene in the text because you can just feel the tension in the room. It's basically team fight versus team flee.
It really is. The room is completely split. On one side, you have the traditionalists, officials like Wei Jiansu and King Guizhen. They are looking at the emperor and saying, whatever you do not run.
What was their main argument? Because, honestly, sitting in a city waiting to be besieged sounds pretty terrifying.
It is terrifying, but they were arguing for what you might call the Churchill approach. They said, recruit, grab every able-bodied man in Shan, open the imperial treasury and pay them whatever they want.
Buy a new army.
Exactly. And recall the legendary generals, Guozi and Li Guangbi, who are out fighting elsewhere. Block the roads, defend the city street by street if you have to.
So they genuinely believed the Tang Dynasty brand was still strong enough to rally the people.
They did. They believed the dynasty still had legitimacy. If the emperor stood his ground, the people would fight for him. The ancestral temples were there. The history was there. To leave was to admit total defeat.
Right. And then you have Yang Guozhong. What is his counterpitch?
He uses a phrase that sounds very poetic, very wise, but in this context, it's actually poisonous. He says, far water cannot save near fire.
Meaning those other generals are just too far away to help.
Exactly. He dismisses the idea of defense entirely. He proposes that the emperor should leave the capital immediately and flee to western Shu, which is modern-day Sichuan province.
Now, if you just look at a map, retreating to the mountains of Sichuan sounds somewhat strategic. It's hard terrain, it's easy to defend, it creates distance. But you flagged something in your notes that completely changes how we should interpret this suggestion.
This is the massive aha moment of the chapter.
Yeah, this blew my mind.
Why Shu? Why that specific region? It turns out this wasn't a panic, spur-of-the-moment tactical idea. Yang Guozhong used to be the military governor of that exact region. The source explicitly states that he had been secretly stockpiling resources and wealth in Shu for years.
Wait, so while he was prime minister, supposedly running the whole empire in Chang'an, he was basically building a doomsday bunker in Sichuan.
That is exactly what he was doing. This was his golden parachute. He wasn't suggesting Shu to save the Tang dynasty. He wasn't doing it to protect the emperor's legacy. He was suggesting it because that is where his money was. That's where his power base was.
That recontextualizes the entire debate. He's not a strategist giving military advice.
Yeah.
He's an embezzler trying to get the emperor into his getaway car.
And he is perfectly willing to drag the emperor along with him just to ensure his own personal safety.
Surely someone in the court called him out on this.
Yeah.
You can't just propose abandoning the capital of the world without pushback.
Oh, they definitely tried. The official King Guizhen gave a very passionate speech. He really tried to inject some reality into the room. He pointed out that the rebels were actually exhausted. They had marched a long way.
They weren't invincible.
Right. He argued that they were terrified of the imperial reputation. He warned the emperor. He said, if you flee, the capital falls. The ancestral temples will be abandoned. The psychological blow to the people will be completely unrecoverable.
So it's a stalemate. You have duty on one side, stay and fight, and you have fear and corruption on the other, run to the safe house. And the emperor, he's just paralyzed. He's oscillating. He can't make the call.
And this is where the story takes a turn that feels like it belongs in a darker version of a period drama.
Oh yeah, the backroom deals.
Yang Guozhong realizes he's losing the room. The logical arguments for staying are just too strong, so he stops using logic. He switches entirely to emotional manipulation.
Plays a sister card.
The sister stratagem, if you will.
Yeah.
Yang Guozhong leaves this grim, tense council meeting and rushes to the mansions of his cousins, the Lady of Guo and the Lady of Han. Now remember, these are the sisters of the emperor's favorite consort, Yang Guifei.
The description in the source here is just wild. The visual contrast is so jarring.
It's incredibly vivid. The empire is burning, the borders have collapsed, soldiers are dying in the mud, and here are these sisters just coming back from a lavish banquet.
Not a care in the world.
They are stepping out of their carriages, dressed in 5-colored silk, surrounded by servants holding lamps, tipsy from wine. They are living in a complete bubble, totally oblivious to the war.
And Guozhong just bursts that bubble.
He bursts in, total panic in his eyes. He's shouting, "We have to go, we have to go." He tells them bluntly, "If we don't leave, we are all dead dust. The rebels are coming and they will not be kind to us."
Because he knows he can't convince the emperor with military maps, so he recruits the sisters to convince him with tears.
Exactly. He drags them straight into the palace to see Yang Guifei and the emperor, and it works beautifully. Where the generals failed with logic about walls and recruitment, the sisters succeed with sheer, raw panic. They surround the emperor, crying, pleading, shaking.
And Xuanzang just caves.
He does. Xuanzang, who by all accounts loved Yang Guifei to the point of obsession, finally cracks. He cannot stand to see them terrified. He agrees to run.
But there's a huge logistical problem here. You can't just walk out of the capital. If the people know the emperor is fleeing, there will be a riot instantly.
Correct. He knows the court, and the citizens will stop him if he tries to abandon them. So they hatch a massive deception. The emperor issues a fake decree.
Right. He announces he is going to personally lead a campaign against the rebels. A personal conquest.
It sounds incredibly brave, right? "I am marching out to meet the enemy." It's perfectly designed to make the people cheer, to make the officials think he's finally taking decisive action. In reality, it's just a cover story.
Smokescreen.
It's a lie to get the city gates open so he can slip away to the prime minister's safe haven in Sichuan without anyone stopping him.
It's the ultimate bait and switch. "I'm going to fight for you," he says, while literally packing his bags to leave you behind.
It is cynical and it's deeply tragic.
So the plan is set. It's pre-dawn. The group gathers at the Yangkou Gate to slip out. And this brings us to a moment in the text that I found genuinely disturbing. It's what I'd call the Sophie's choice of the episode. They have limited carriages, they need to move fast, so they have to choose who goes and who stays.
This part is heartbreaking. It really reveals the hierarchy of the emperor's heart. First, there is the issue of Consort Mei.
That's the X, right?
Yes, Mei Fei. She was the emperor's favorite before Yang Guifei came along. She's still living in the palace. The emperor actually wants to bring her. He actively suggests it. But Yang Guifei is standing right there. And even in the middle of a total societal collapse, with their lives on the line, jealousy is still calling the shots.
She vetoes it.
She puts her foot down. She absolutely refuses to let Consort Mei get in the carriage. And the emperor, he just gives in. He leaves Mei Fei behind.
That is cold. But honestly, what he does to his own family next is even colder.
It really is. The emperor decides not to tell the other princes, the princesses, or any of the extended royal family. Yang Guirong argues, if we tell them, word will get out. It will create a huge scene.
It'll slow us down.
Right. We need to move fast.
Let's just pause and sit with that for a second. The father of the empire is sneaking out the back door with his favorite wife and her corrupt cousin, and he is leaving his own children and grandchildren behind to face a barbarian army.
That is exactly what is happening. It creates a shocking betrayal. In Confucian culture, the emperor is the literal father of the nation, the ultimate patriarch. But here, he isn't even acting like a decent father to his own bloodline. He is saving himself and his favorites and leaving the rest to the wolves.
So they slip out through the Yankee Gate into the dark. They are gone. Then morning comes. The sun rises over Chang'e. The officials show up for work expecting this glorious personal conquest campaign or at least a morning briefing.
It's such an eerie image in the text. The machinery of the state is still running. The water clock, the clepsydra, is just ticking away, marking the time. The bureaucracy is ready to function, but the doors are locked.
The lights are on, but nobody's home.
The soul of the machine is gone. Eventually, the doors open and palace women just run out screaming. And that is when the reality hits the court. The emperor has fled.
And chaos explodes.
Absolute breakdown. The officials panic and flee immediately. But the commoners, the source says, the people storm the palace. They storm the homes of the wealthy. And there's this specific, almost surreal detail that the text focuses on. People riding donkeys into the main throne hall.
Donkeys in the throne room.
It's a very powerful literary image. The donkey is a peasant animal, a beast of burden. To have it stomping on the polished floor of the imperial hall where only the Son of Heaven was allowed to walk really symbolizes the complete inversion of order.
The spell is broken.
The sanctity of the imperial court is just evaporated.
And looking at the source, this scene leads the author to reference a very famous poem by Du Fu called Sorrow of the Princes. It describes what happened to those royals who were left behind.
It is a devastating poem. Du Fu was actually there. He lived through this. He writes about the Dragon Sea, the royal bloodline. These are people who 24 hours ago were untouchable. They were treated as divine. They rode with gold whips. Now Du Fu describes them hiding in thorn bushes.
Yesterday, spring winds. Today, blood and dust.
That's the line. They are begging on the side of the road, but they are afraid to even say their own names because it might get them killed. It really drives home the consequences of the emperor's decision. By running away to save his own skin, he didn't just lose a city, he destroyed the dignity of his entire dynasty. The emperor of the Tang dynasty, he is the son of heaven. His word is absolute law.
Right, he commands millions of people. He has wealth that would, well, it would make modern billionaires blush.
Exactly, the absolute apex of power. But right now, in the specific moment we are looking at, he is fleeing his own capital city.
It's a complete inversion of reality.
It really is. He is covered in road dust. He is terrified. He's watching smoke rise on the horizon. And for arguably the first time in his entire 70-plus years of life, he is genuinely, painfully hungry.
It's the kind of fall from grace that completely defines historical tragedy.
Yeah, for sure.
The specific events leading up to the infamous mutiny at Mawai Station.
Mawai Station. I mean, even the name sounds ominous when you read the history books.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because this is the moment that arguably ended the golden age of the Tang dynasty.
Yeah.
It's a story about the brutal cost of power, the sudden collapse of an empire,
And the tragic end of one of history's most famous romances. The love between the emperor and his beloved consort, young Guifei.
we have a massive amount of ground to cover today.
We really do. We've got burning bridges, literally, we've got mob violence, and we've got some really eerie supernatural prophecies involving Chinese wordplay that, I'm not gonna lie, gave me actual chills.
The prophecies are fascinating because they reframe this entire historical disaster as destiny. But you really have to understand the atmosphere here. This isn't a procession with flags waving and drums beating. It is sheer panic.
It's a refugee crisis.
Exactly. A refugee crisis where the primary refugee just happens to be the emperor. And what I find so interesting in the Sutang Yanyu account is how it highlights his character right at the moment everything is falling apart.
Because usually in these stories, when a leader is running for their life, they become incredibly selfish.
Oh, absolutely. It's pure self-preservation mode. Throw everyone else under the bus to save the crown.
But the source material gives us these surprising moments of benevolence that really complicate how we view him. He's losing his empire, but he sort of finds his conscience.
Let's talk about the left treasury incident. This happens right as they're leaving the capital.
Yeah, walk us through that.
So the royal entourage is passing the left treasury, or Guozhong. Think of this as the national bank vault. It's a massive stockpile of the empire's wealth. Silk, silver, grain, you name it.
And the scene is just chaotic.
Extremely. There are soldiers standing there with torches ready to burn the whole thing down.
A scorched earth policy.
Precisely. And the prime minister, Guozhong, is the one pushing for this. He argues, quite logically from a military standpoint, that they can't carry it all.
Right.
So they should burn it to prevent the rebels from using it to fund their war machine. It's that cold strategic decision of not leaving resources for the enemy.
Which, to be fair to the prime minister, is standard operating procedure in war. If you leave the gold, the bad guys use the gold to buy swords to kill you.
It is entirely logical.
Oh,
But the emperor stops him.
He steps in.
He steps in. Guozhong looks at the situation and he essentially says no. And his logic is amazing. He says, if the rebels come here and find the treasury empty or burned, they aren't just going to shrug and move on.
They're going to loot the common people even harder to make up for it.
Exactly. He refuses to burn the wealth, specifically to spare his subjects from being pillaged. He says it's better to leave it to the rebels than to heavily burden his people.
He is effectively bribing the rebels with his own money to save the citizens of Chang'e. That is actually really thoughtful.
It is.
And he doubles down on this mindset just a little while later at the Biamen Bridge. This scene feels so cinematic to me.
It really does. This is a huge moment. The royal carriage crosses the bridge over the river. They are terrified of being pursued. And once they are safely on the other side, Guozhong, again thinking like a strategist, orders the bridge to be burned.
Burn the bridge so the rebels can't follow them. cut off the pursuers.
It makes perfect sense if you were only thinking about the safety of the VIPs, but the emperor loses it. He is furious.
He looks back and sees the smoke rising, right?
Yes, he demands to know what's happening. And he makes this incredibly poignant point. He says the common people are also trying to run away from the rebels. They're right behind us. If you burn the bridge, how are they supposed to escape?
Wow, so he sees the bridge not just as his escape route, but as their lifeline.
He literally calls it cutting off their path to life. He actually orders his chief eunuch, Gao Lishi, to go back and put out the fire immediately so the refugees can cross.
It's so interesting because historically, Xuanzang is often blamed for this whole rebellion. He let things slide, he was distracted by romance, but here, in his absolute worst moment, he shows this moral clarity.
The source text makes a fascinating point about that. It mentions that later historians believe these two specific acts, saving the treasury and saving the bridge, were the actual reason Xuanzang was eventually able to return home and live a long life.
Like accumulating good karma.
In a way, yeah. Or maintaining the mandate of heaven. It establishes that even though he made massive political mistakes, he hadn't lost his humanity. He still recognized his duty to his subjects.
But here's the harsh reality of being a refugee, even a royal one. Caring about your subjects does not fill your stomach.
No, it certainly does not.
And this is where the reality check hits them so hard. They reach the Wangxian palace, hoping for rest and food, and it is
completely desolate. It's noon, they haven't eaten all day, and the local officials have all fled. The whole system is broken down. There's no welcome committee, no banquet.
I think the detail that stuck with me most here is the food situation.
Yeah.
You have the Emperor of China, a man who eats the finest delicacies from across the continent, and what does he end up eating?
Rough rice mixed with beans.
This mixed with beans.
And it's not served on gold platters either. Commoners bring it out in whatever random containers they have. And the description of the royal grandchildren is just heartbreaking. These are sheltered princes and princesses.
And they're so hungry they're scooping this rough rice up with their bare hands.
It's a complete loss of dignity.
But notice Xuanzang's reaction here. He doesn't complain. He doesn't demand better treatment. He pays the commoners heavily for the food, probably overpaying massively, and he just starts weeping with them.
It becomes a shared trauma. He's not above them anymore. He is suffering right alongside them.
And in the middle of this weeping, we get an interaction that I think is crucial for understanding the emperor's mindset. It's almost like a scene from a play where the truth teller walks onto the stage.
Yes, the old man. Guozhong.
Guozhong, he's not a minister, he's not a general.
No, he's just a white-haired old man from the village.
And
And he steps forward and tells the emperor right to his face, "We knew Alu Shan was going to rebel for a long time."
that has to hurt to hear. Just a blunt "we told you so."
He goes even further. He says anyone who tried to warn you about this was killed or dismissed. He accuses the emperor of living in a bubble, surrounded by sycophants, totally cut off from the reality of the empire.
He compares the current court to the honest ministers of the past, right?
Yes. And normally, this kind of insolence would get you executed on the spot.
Oh, absolutely. Saying, "Hey, emperor, this is your fault because you wouldn't listen." That's a death sentence.
Does the emperor execute him? No, he says, "This is all my lack of clarity, but it is too late for regret."
He actually owns it.
He admits his blindness.
Yeah.
It is a moment of total defeat. He realizes he built the trap he is now caught in. The bubble has burst, and the old man is just stating facts.
And unfortunately, that trap is about to snap shut at a place called Maowai Station.
Maowai Station. This is the turning point of the entire saga.
So set the scene for us at Maowai.
The army arrives, but they are exhausted, they are starving, and most importantly, they are angry. An army that is hungry, retreating, and unpaid is a very dangerous beast.
They are looking for someone to blame.
They are. And the target is glaringly obvious. Prime Minister Yang Guozhong.
The guy who wanted to burn the treasury and the bridge.
Right. He's also the cousin of the emperor's favorite consort, Yang Guifei. The soldiers view him as the architect of this whole disaster. They believe his corruption and sheer incompetence led directly to the rebellion.
And honestly, based on his bridge-burning instincts, he is not winning any popularity contests with the troops anyway.
No, definitely not. So you have soldiers, led by General Chen Yuanli, and a defeated general named Wang Xili. They are whispering in the ranks. They just need a spark to set it off.
And they get one in the weirdest way possible. Tibetan envoys.
Yeah, it's a classic wrong place, wrong time situation.
Yeah.
There is some Tibetan envoys traveling with the court. They block Yang Guozhong's horse to complain that they haven't been fed either.
It's basically a hunger strike mixed with a labor dispute.
essentially. But General Tenyuanli uses this moment perfectly. He shouts out to the troops that Yang Guozhong is conspiring with the foreigners to rebel.
Which is a lie, right?
It is complete fabrication. Yang Guozhong was many things, but he wasn't conspiring with Tibetans right there in the open. But it doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter anymore. It gives the soldiers the excuse they've been waiting for. They attack.
And this isn't a formal trial. This is a mob.
It is a total massacre. They cut down the prime minister, they dismember him, they kill his son, they kill the Lady of Guo, his sister. And in this incredibly gruesome display, they mount Yang Guozhong's head on a spear and stick it outside the station gate.
The source text has this really poetic line about his fall, doesn't it?
Yes, it says, even if an iceberg is 10,000 feet high, it's not hard for it to melt away in a single day.
That is a powerful metaphor. One day he's the second most powerful man in the empire, and the next, his head is on a spear.
So the traitor is dead. You would think the soldiers would be happy. They got their blood.
But they don't leave.
No, they don't. The emperor comes out to tell them, okay, justice has been served, calm down. But they don't move. They refuse to disperse. And this is the most dangerous moment for the emperor. He asks them, the traitor is dead. Why are you so gathered?
And they give him that chilling answer. They say, the root of the trouble remains.
Me and consort Yang.
Yeah.
Yang Guifei.
This is the part that always gets me. The emperor tries to defend her. He pleads with the soldiers. He says she lives deep in the palace. She has nothing to do with her cousin's politics. She's innocent. And he's right, isn't he? Historically speaking.
Historically. Probably.
Yeah.
She wasn't some political mastermind. She was a woman who enjoyed luxury and the emperor's favor. But in the logic of an armed mutiny, innocence is totally irrelevant.
It's not about what she did. It's about what she represents.
Exactly. And this is where Gaolishi, the eunuch who put out the fire at the bridge, steps in as the voice of cold, brutal pragmatism. He pulls the emperor aside.
What does he say to him?
He tells the emperor the consort may be innocent, but the soldiers have just killed her cousin and her family. If she lives and remains by your side, the soldiers will never feel safe.
Because they think she'll whisper in the emperor's ear and get revenge later, like, kill the men who killed my cousin.
Precisely. They will always fear her vengeance. Gaolishi says, if the soldiers are safe, then your majesty is safe. He's telling the emperor that it's a binary choice. To survive this day, he has to sacrifice the woman he loves. It's her or the throne, her or his own life.
That is an impossible choice. But looking at thousands of angry soldiers with blood on their swords, the emperor realizes he has no leverage. The army is the only thing keeping him alive right now.
He enters the way station where they are staying, and he can't even speak. He just weeps. He tells her, we are parting forever.
How does she react? In the source, does she fight? Does she scream that it isn't fair?
No. That's the real tragedy of it. She is incredibly dignified. She understands the political reality better than he does in that moment. She says, I have burdened your majesty greatly. I die without regret.
She just accepts it to save him.
She just asks for permission to pray to Buddha first.
And then the execution happens. It's not a beheading, right?
No, that would be considered too messy for a royal consort. It's very specific. Gaolishi provides a luanjin, a silk scarf. She goes to the Buddhist hall, stands under a pear tree, and hangs herself.
She was only 38 years old.
38. And the horror doesn't end when she stops breathing.
Why? What happens next?
Because rumors fly easily in a chaotic army. The soldiers outside didn't actually believe she was dead. They thought the emperor might have faked it to smuggle her out.
So they needed proof.
General Chen Yuanli actually has to bring the body out on a stretcher. He has to lift the covering and show them her face.
They forced an inspection of the corpse.
They had to see it. Only when the soldiers saw her dead face did they take off their helmets, boo, shout, long live the emperor, and disperse. The tension broke only when she was confirmed dead.
It's horrific. It's a mob demanding a human sacrifice, and once they get it, they go right back to being loyal subjects.
It really highlights the precarious nature of the emperor's power. He is their leader only as long as he gives them what they want.
And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife a little deeper, we get this detail about the lychees. This feels like something a screenwriter would add to make the audience cry, but it's right there in the text.
It is a devastating moment of irony. Everyone knows Yang Guifei loved fresh lychees. It was her signature thing. The emperor had set up this elaborate, incredibly expensive courier system to ride day and night to bring them fresh from the south to the capital.
We're talking about the Pony Express of fruit here.
Exactly. And right after they bury her, in a shallow grave by the road, basically, A courier arrives
With the fruit?
with fresh lychees. The fruit that was meant to delight her arrives just moments after she's been strangled. The emperor sees the delivery and just breaks down completely. He orders the lychees to be offered at her grave instead.
Talk about a symbol of lost love.
It emphasizes the utter futility of it all. All that effort, all that luxury, ending in a roadside grave with a basket of rotting fruit. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. The source material pivots from history to almost supernatural analysis. The emperor starts realizing that this nightmare wasn't just bad luck, it was predicted.
Yes, and this is very common in classic Chinese literature. The text dives into dream interpretation and wordplay. The emperor recalls a dream he had a while back about visiting Shanyun Station.
Walk us through this dream, because on the surface it sounds like a standard weird dream. He's riding a dragon.
He's riding a white dragon, moving very fast. Yang Guifei is riding a black dragon, moving very slowly. And they see a mountain ghost.
And this is where we need to explain the Chinese characters to you, because the prophecy is hidden in the spelling, right?
Right. So in the dream, this mountain ghost claims to be a local deity. But the emperor analyzes the characters later. The character for mountain is Shan. The character for ghost is Gi.
Okay, Shan and Gi.
If you put the character Shan on top of the character Gi, it forms a new character, Wei.
Wei, as in Manwei Station.
Exactly. The location of her death was hidden in the name of the ghost in his dream. That is genuinely spooky. It's like his subconscious was giving him the GPS coordinates of his own downfall. And there's another one about a silkworm queen, right?
Yes, in the dream, the ghost says Guifei will be the silkworm queen. The emperor breaks this down too. To raise silkworms, you need to benefit, which is the character Yi, and use silk, which is the character Si.
Okay, so Yi plus C.
If you combine the character for Yi, benefit, with the radical for silk, you get the character Yi, which means to hang or to strangle.
Whoa, so silkworm queen was a pun on death by strangulation.
Precisely. And the fact that he was on a white dragon, flying fast to the west, and she was on a black dragon, staying behind in the darkness, represented their separation. He would continue on, and she would stay behind in death.
It's like a puzzle he solved way too late.
And it's not just the dream. Gao Lishi reminds him of a sorcerer named Li Xiaozu who had written a cryptic poem years ago.
I have the poem here. It says, "Horses do not return, and if you meet a ghost below a mountain, ring the silk on the ring."
Let's unpack that one. Horses do not return referred to the disastrous defeat at Tongguan, which destroyed the army and forced them to flee in the first place.
And ghost below a mountain, we know that one now. That's Wei, Manwei Station.
Correct. Now, ring the silk on the ring. This is the kicker. In Chinese, the word for ring is huan.
And Yang Guifei's personal name was?
Yang Yuhuan. So ring refers to her. Silk on the ring refers to the silk scarf used to strangle her.
It is incredibly precise. It paints this picture that the tragedy wasn't just political failure, it was destiny.
It gives the events a sense of inevitable doom. It suggests that no matter what the emperor did, the mountain ghost was waiting for them at Manwei. The text is telling us that you cannot run from your fate, even if you are the emperor.
So the emperor's left there, he's lost his authority, he's lost his prime minister, and he has lost his wife. The army finally starts moving again.
They head towards Swordgate, or Jianmen. But the emperor is a broken man. There's a scene where he is riding with a musician named Zhang Yehu. The emperor looks out at the landscape, the green water, the lush mountains.
Beautiful scenery.
And he says to the musician, all of this, the birds singing, the flowers falling, it just helps me mourn her.
The beautiful scenery just makes it worse.
Good scenery is unbearable to look at when you are sorrowful. That's the line. The physical world is continuing to be beautiful, but his world has ended.
It is such a heavy ending.